I'm Nicholas. I make videos on here every so often, mainly about video games and the important role that they have played in my life. And today there is one game I do want to talk about, but before I can even begin to do that, I gotta set the stage first. So let's go back to October of 2023. It's been about a year and a half for me since I graduated college at this point in time, and I didn't really have much to show for myself other than this YouTube channel that I showed up on every so often and a full-time job at a grocery store. Most of my time during this period was either spent in my teenage bedroom, which I had outgrown years ago, or the grocery store down the street where I would spend my time stocking produce, working at a service desk, and being a cashier. So yeah, for 5 days a week, this is what my life looked like. For a while, I thought this was it. This is what, my 20s and into my 30s would look like, even though I had been ready to move on to the next chapter of my life. I just didn't have the faintest idea how to even make that happen. I needed to escape. I needed some form of change. At the very least, I needed a video game. And if there was any game I could rely on for an escape whenever I needed it the most, it was always Marvel's Spider-Man, my favorite game of all time. The first Spider-Man has been my favorite game ever since I first played it back in 2018, the same year I started college. As someone who grew up on Spider-Man, this game supplied me with an infinite amount of warmth and comfort during the times where I needed it the most. Whether it's for 5 minutes or 5 hours, there were many times where I would just turn on my PlayStation 4 just to aimlessly swing around New York City, getting lost in the repetition of swinging through the streets of Manhattan, forgetting about my problems even just for a moment, and reconnecting with the childlike belief that I was Spider-Man. So it was during this time where I needed more than just the first Spider-Man game to keep me company. And I was in luck, because if there was gonna be any game that would solve all of my problems, it was gonna be Spider-Man 2, right? All right. Let's get one thing straight. My expectations for Spider-Man 2 were impossible to meet from the very beginning. Cause one, I needed it to be a sequel worthy to my favorite game of all time. And two, I also needed something to alleviate the monotony and dread that I felt from showing up to my day job, because who knew how long I was gonna be doing that? So when October 20th, 2023 rolled around, I took the entire weekend off, I locked the in, and I saw it through to the end in just that one weekend, and something wasn't quite right. Spider-Man 2 was fine. It was okay, and that in itself is okay. But it wasn't really a title that left any kind of an impact on me.
I'm the hero here, not you.
I don't know, I just didn't love it. I didn't hate it either. I simply played it and moved on. It wasn't really a story I had any desire to experience more than once. This game is trying so hard to juggle multiple storylines to the point where I couldn't really tell you what the through line is here, which is very much unlike its predecessors. With Spider-Man 2, I was searching for that same kind of escapism and warmth that the first game offered me years and years ago. But what I would come to realize is that I was just looking for it in the wrong place. The solution to all my problems wasn't going to be on a shiny new PlayStation 5, but a used Nintendo DS. Around this time, I had completed Hotel Dusk right before Spider-Man 2, even made a full video on it. And I absolutely adored everything Hotel Dusk sought out to do as a mystery novel in love with being a video game. So when I found myself at the end of Spider-Man 2, it only seemed logical to return to Kyle Hyde's detective world. And from that point on, I found myself Lost in Hotel Dusk's sequel, Last Window: The Secret of Cape West. So, Last Window takes place about a year after the events of Hotel Dusk and follows the same ex-detective turned salesman, Kyle Hyde, on a mystery to locate a precious diamond inside his apartment building before he and everyone else is evicted at the end of the month, as the building has just been sold off. From there, Hyde is thrusted back into his old ways and must use his skills as an ex-detective turned salesman to uncover the secrets of Cape West Apartments and the truth behind his father's mysterious death all those years ago. Last Window was everything I didn't know I needed at the time. Having my own desires to quit my own job, move out, and change my life made me feel like a tenant of Cape West Apartments. There's this emphasis on all these characters who are forced to finish up their business, make amends, and let go of their past before being evicted from Cape West. You have a once successful musician, a young, aspiring filmmaker, a waitress trying to get her parents back together, and Kyle, who is just little over a week to figure out how all these people factor into the larger mystery at hand. And just like Kyle Hyde, I too was resorting to quiet quitting and making scribbles in my notebook, waiting to get back to Cape West Apartments, where it felt like everyone was in the same boat as me, trying to make a change in their lives in time for the new year. As a second and final installment in the Kyle Hyde saga, I expected Last Window to be more of a Hotel Dusk 2, but what I ended up finding was so much more than that. If Hotel Dusk was a mystery novel in love with being a video game, I would describe Last Window as a game obsessed with the life of Kyle Hyde. At its core, this is a game about who Kyle Hyde was before and after the events of Hotel Dusk, and even leaves the player with enough material to speculate what direction he might have gone next had there been more of these games. With Last Window's role as a sequel to Hotel Dusk, a game I already adored, this whole thing got me thinking, well, what did Last Window do that Spider-Man 2 didn't? Was it my lack of expectations that had me favor Last Window more? Maybe. Or was it the fact it was a sequel that served a very specific purpose and, I don't know, had a clear vision behind it? Last Window isn't trying to be the same game as its predecessor. It isn't trying to one-up it either. It's much more interested in being its own thing, side by side with Hotel Dusk. It's already been over 14 years since Sing closed their doors and released Kyle Hyde's last adventure. But with Sing's other franchise, Another Code, being remade for the Switch earlier this year, things are looking like Nintendo is at least a little bit interested in bringing Kyle Hyde to modern audiences on the Switch. This is all pure speculation, of course, and obviously these games wouldn't be the same on the Switch given how these games are so attached and in love with the DS's hardware and design.
Help! Help!
To say that these games can only exist on the DS would be a disservice to not only its soundtrack, but its writing and its art style, and how all of these things work together to really bring Kyle Hyde and his world to life. And while it is fun to get lost in Hotel Dusk and Cape West Apartments time and time again, I keep hoping this isn't the last we've seen of Detective Kyle Hyde. Playing as Kyle Hyde and getting to know the tenants of Cape West in many ways gave me the inspiration I needed to not wait for the next chapter of my life to happen. For the past year, I have not stopped playing this game. It's been the game on my nightstand, the game I play in between other video games, but most of all, it's a game that got my life together. The first time I beat Last Window, there was this very clear moment where I was sitting in the break room at my previous job, and I remember thinking to myself, by the time that I beat this game again, I hope to have moved out and I hope to have found a new job and moved in with my girlfriend. If you were to ask me last year what my favorite game of all time was, well, probably would have given you the answer of Marvel's Spider-Man. But If you were to ask me now, well, I'd probably have to think about it a little harder.